After paying off our $180,000 debt, I wasn't invited to Easter. "You make US feel poor," my mom texted. So I sent my bank statement without saying a word, then blocked them. 20 minutes later, my sister was screaming. Dad was blowing up my phone. I, 29M, never thought money would destroy my family. But here we are. Growing up, we weren't wealthy, but we weren't poor either. Dad worked construction, Mom was a part-time secretary, and my sister was the golden child who could do no wrong. I was the quiet one, the one who studied hard and kept my head down. When I graduated with my engineering degree and landed a job at a tech company, everyone was proud. When I got promoted to senior engineer 3 years later, they celebrated. But somewhere along the way, success became a dirty word in our house. The debt started small. Dad's back injury meant workers' comp didn't cover everything. Mom's hours got cut. My sister's divorce left her with 2 kids and no support from her ex. One by one, they came to me. Could I help with the mortgage? Could I cover the car payment? Could I loan them money for groceries? I said yes every time. Family is family, right? What started as a few hundred here and there snowballed into something massive. Dad needed surgery that insurance wouldn't fully cover. Mom's car died and she needed reliable transportation for work. My sister's kids needed school supplies, clothes, medical bills. The requests became demands, and the amounts grew larger. I kept a spreadsheet, not because I planned to collect, but because I needed to track my own finances. Every month, more money flowed out than came in, despite my 6-figure salary. I was living in a studio apartment, driving a 10-year-old Honda, eating ramen for dinner, while my family lived comfortably on my dime. The breaking point came when my sister asked for $20,000 for a down payment on a house. She explained how the kids needed stability, how renting was throwing money away, how this was an investment in their future. I looked at my spreadsheet and realized I'd already given them $180,000 over 4 years. $180,000. I'd been so focused on helping that I hadn't seen the bigger picture. I was drowning while keeping everyone else afloat. That night, I made a decision. I called each of them and explained that I couldn't continue lending money. I needed to focus on my own financial stability. The responses were immediate and brutal. Dad accused me of abandoning family when they needed me most. Mom cried and said she didn't know how they'd survive. My sister screamed that I was selfish and had forgotten where I came from. They made me feel like the villain for wanting to stop bleeding money. But I held firm. For the first time in 4 years, I said no. The silent treatment started immediately. No more Sunday dinners. No more random calls to check in. No more family group chat messages. I went from being the family ATM to being invisible. I used the breathing room to rebuild my finances. Without the constant drain, I could actually save money. I moved to a better apartment, bought a reliable car, started investing. For the first time since college, I felt financially secure. Months passed. I heard through mutual friends that Dad had picked up some side work despite his back problems. Mom had found a full-time position. My sister had moved to a smaller, more affordable place. They were managing without my money, which proved they could have been managing all along. Then Easter approached. I waited for the invitation that never came. Every year since I could remember, we'd gathered at Mom and Dad's house for Easter dinner. It was tradition, but my phone stayed silent. Finally, 3 days before Easter, I texted Mom asking about dinner plans. Her response came an hour later and hit like a punch to the gut. She told me they decided to keep Easter small this year. She said my presence made everyone uncomfortable because I reminded them of their financial struggles. She said I made them feel poor and inadequate. She said maybe it was better if I didn't come. I stared at that message for a long time. 4 years of financial support, and this was my reward. I was being excluded from family gatherings because my success made them feel bad about themselves. The anger that had been building for months finally boiled over. But instead of typing an angry response, I did something else. I opened my banking app and took a screenshot of my account balance. Then I opened my investment portfolio and took another screenshot. I compiled them into a single image showing my current net worth, then sent it to the family group chat without any explanation. The number was substantial. Not millionaire territory, but impressive for someone my age. It represented years of hard work, smart investments, and financial discipline. It also represented what I could have achieved sooner if I hadn't been supporting 3 other adults for 4 years. After sending the screenshots, I blocked all their numbers and left the group chat. 20 minutes later, my phone started buzzing with notifications from social media, email, and unknown numbers. I ignored them all and went for a run. When I got back, I had 17 missed calls and dozens of messages from various platforms. My sister had somehow gotten my work email and sent a frantic message demanding I call her immediately. Dad had called my office and left a message with my assistant. I didn't respond to any of it. The next morning, my sister showed up at my apartment building. The doorman called up to announce her, and I told him I wasn't available. She waited in the lobby for 3 hours before giving up. Over the next few days, the attempts to contact me intensified. They tried reaching out through old friends, distant relatives, even my college roommate. Everyone had the same message. The family was sorry. They wanted to talk. Couldn't we work this out? But I was done. The screenshots had served their purpose. They showed exactly what I'd sacrificed to keep everyone else comfortable. They showed that I wasn't the selfish, money-obsessed person they'd painted me as. I was someone who'd given up years of financial growth to support people who ultimately didn't want me around when I stopped being useful. Update 1. 2 weeks after Easter, I received a letter in the mail. It was from Mom, handwritten on her good stationery. She apologized for the text message and explained that everyone had been stressed about money. She said they missed me and wanted me to come to my sister's birthday dinner. I threw the letter away without finishing it. A month later, Dad had a minor heart episode. Nothing serious, but it required a hospital stay. My aunt called to tell me, expecting I'd rush to his bedside. Instead, I sent flowers to his room with a card wishing him a speedy recovery. I didn't visit. My sister tried a different approach. She sent me photos of my nephews with messages about how much they missed their uncle. She talked about how the kids asked about me constantly and didn't understand why I wasn't around anymore. It was emotional manipulation, and I recognized it for what it was. Update 2. 6 months after the Easter incident, I learned through a mutual friend that my family was struggling again. Dad's heart episode had resulted in medical bills that insurance didn't fully cover. Mom had been laid off from her new job. My sister's ex-husband had stopped paying child support. They were in the same financial hole they'd been in before, but this time, there was no safety net. No one to call when the bills piled up. No one to cover the shortfall when expenses exceeded income. Part of me felt guilty. These were still my family members, still people I'd once loved unconditionally. But a larger part of me felt vindicated. They'd made their choice when they excluded me from Easter. They'd chosen pride over family, comfort over relationship. I'd learned to live without them, and apparently, they were learning to live without my money. Update 3. A year after blocking them, I ran into my sister at a grocery store. She looked tired, older somehow. She approached me hesitantly and asked if we could talk. She apologized for everything. She admitted they'd taken advantage of my generosity and treated me poorly. She said the family had fallen apart after I left, that everyone blamed everyone else for driving me away. She said they'd learned to manage their finances better, but missed having me in their lives. I listened without saying much. When she finished, I told her I appreciated the apology, but wasn't ready to rebuild the relationship. Too much had happened. Too much trust had been broken. She nodded and said she understood. She asked if maybe someday we could try again, and I told her maybe, but not anytime soon. As I walked away, I felt something I hadn't expected: peace. Not happiness, not satisfaction, but peace. I'd stood up for myself, set boundaries, and stuck to them even when it was difficult. I'd learned that family doesn't give you the right to be taken advantage of, and love doesn't mean accepting mistreatment. The $180,000 was gone forever, but I gained something more valuable: self-respect, and the knowledge that I could survive without people who only valued me for what I could provide. Sometimes the most expensive lessons are the most important ones. Sometimes walking away is the only way to move forward. And sometimes, the family you choose is more important than the family you're born into. I still keep that spreadsheet, not as a reminder of what I lost, but as a reminder of what I'm worth. And I'm worth more than being someone's ATM, even if that someone shares my DNA.